All right, guys. So Apple has finally announced their new lineup of Macs. And this is something that I've been waiting for some time. Even though we knew very well in advance that Apple was moving to a new type of processor known as their M1 chip, we really didn't know the pricing and the performance. And yesterday at Apple's Welcome to the Future of Mac conference, Apple always has a penchant for the dramatic. They announced their new M1 chip and they announced a few new Macs as well. And I really wanted to give you guys some opinions and some thoughts about this as well, because I'm both very, very excited and very, very cautious approaching this. So, long story cut short, I've owned both Macs and PCs for some time. So this here is the first Surface Book. When Microsoft pitched it, I was like, wow, this thing is amazing. It can edit 4K video on the go. You can press a button, pull it, the top off, and then you can use it as a tablet. Oh my God, this is amazing. But it didn't live to expectations, and I have a few particular demands, which is that I want to be able to edit video on the go, and that's quite intensive. It's just for some reason, it's just like magically to render videos, to edit videos in a very kind of clean fashion. It's not the easiest thing for computers, especially laptops, to handle. This is why I've eventually got this version. Yet again, it's the objective is so if I'm traveling, if I'm going to a meeting somewhere, if I'm trying to just go out and edit for a day, I can just do that, right? And hopefully without taking a giant charger pack with me, which is why I was quite excited for the M1 event to see what the new Macs can do and how much battery power they get. And overall, it's quite interesting, I would say, all right? In terms of their sheer marketing, I think that it was done very well. They're claiming it to be a gigantic leap, and they made some vague claims about how much faster this is versus the top or the most popular Windows laptop. Like no direct references, so we have no idea what they're actually referencing. And also they talk about how it's a leap for also their MacBook Airs and MacBook line as well. So far, so promising. And so far, I think that's something that's quite interesting. They showed exactly what I wanted to see, which was 4K or even up to 8K ProRes video editing on a MacBook Air. That's pretty cool. Fanless too. Wow, that's even better. With long battery life. I mean, this thing can watch videos for hours on end, like for even almost like a day, right? Like especially if you look at the MacBook Pro, it's got a giant battery. It's pretty cool. Now, there are some caveats still, of course, because it's running the ARM architecture. There has been a few things that are unspoken, which is that a lot of applications will not be running very smoothly at the start. So this is a given. They even hinted at how it's going to be amazing that Photoshop is going to release their native Apple M1 chip based Mac software next year. So 2021, you can run Photoshop fluidly. And that's interesting. That's interesting. So I think that's kind of the biggest drawback. You get faster processor, longer battery time, but in terms of software support, this is the big question mark that I'm wondering. Now, the good news is that being Apple, they have a big ecosystem. So they already have software like Final Cut. So Final Cut works or supposed to work with the new Macs from the get-go. So you're not going to be cut off completely from the rest of the world. And I've seen a Microsoft set, where the whole Office set works. So if you're just using those applications and you don't mind using Safari, apparently it's going to run super blazingly fast. Then that's great. And I think that's going to be a really good option. And I think I'm super excited for the people who can use that. There are people who say, okay, this is just a giant iPad, it's using the iPad processor. But I really think that this is the way mobile computing should go. You go out and, nowadays, being a big PC fan, all right, I'll just show you my PC here. This is like I'll show you this here. So like I have like a proper setup here, where I have like 4 screens on a desktop. This is almost a bygone age, right? Nowadays, people want portability. They want to go out for a meeting. And I have this situation all the time where I need to go out for a meeting and I want to take something to take notes, to write documents, etc. And optimally speaking, I should take the same computer. Now, I don't do that right now because like the software, the hardware rather, is so much better on a PC that I can stream. I can also cancel out any noise that's happening on this with my NVIDIA graphics card. I can more efficiently open more windows, open more HDMI inputs with a PC at this current point. But I see that the future, where we're going in the future, that might not be totally necessary. I mean, it's very possible that with an ARM chip, I can do exactly what I'm doing now, have some AI to cancel out the background noise. I have 4K recording. I can have editing all on an ARM chip. And this is why I'm super excited. So rambling aside, I think it's exciting to see this development being made. And I think I've seen a few videos that's just called as a giant iPad. And I think like that's not the case. I feel like it's a point where mobile processor technology is advancing at such a fast pace that we're finally seeing the point where they just kind of jump over existing x84, not x84, x86 infrastructure like Intel or AMD stuff. So I think that's good because that gives a lot more competition and that gives people a lot of options. Now, for me personally, the story is a little bit harder because I have some specific things I need to do when I'm out. So Final Cut being one of them. But the second thing, of course, is streaming. So I stream out. Sometimes I need a computer to help me stream. Usually this is this unit right here. This is the MacBook Pro. And for now, I'm not sure if all that streaming software runs well. Very likely it will run, but will it run well on the new ARM-based Macs? That's a big question. And this is what kind of prevented me from buying this day one. Like, I've been actively looking for a lighter, like basically a MacBook Air style, very, very light, very long battery life computer that can edit 4K videos. Right, that was my criteria, and stream as well. And I don't know, that's a big question mark, is I don't know without testing these units if they can stream and do exactly what I want them to do. So this is why I'm going to wait until maybe like a week or 2 weeks later until people test to see if all that OBS software runs on that. And then I'll probably decide. Very likely, because I know how Apple works, maybe the first iteration doesn't go very well. It might get kind of discarded for a fancier new one in the next year. I might wait for the second iteration. That's kind of what I think. I want to see how Photoshop works. I mean, occasionally I need to edit a thumbnail to upload a video and I need Photoshop. And, I don't want to wait a year to find out if it's good or not. So that's my current take. I feel like overall, this is a big step for Apple. And I think overall, it's also a big step for the whole mobile computing ecosystem. It's finally a good stab at high efficiency, very powerful mobile style processing units on proper laptops. And I think that's great. I think that's a good direction to go because, I think in the future, everyone wants that. We've seen that with like developers and artists, they all want a laptop now. And yeah, so I think that's a good direction because you need the power efficiency and we need to drive that. Also, one last thing. So when it comes to pricing, I find Apple pretty aggressive here. I'm just looking for a good word, actually. I think either aggressive or outright price gouging here. So very interesting enough, they're charging $1,000 for the low-end MacBook Air and then $1,200 for the slightly higher spec here. You can see that it's almost the same, apart from this one has 8-core GPU rather than a 7-core GPU. That's and slightly better SSD storage. Okay, but what's interesting here is one very core element that you need, which is your RAM. So when you open a lot of Chrome windows, like, this is very typical. I open a bunch of Chrome windows. Maybe I'm dealing with some cryptocurrency transactions. You have a bunch of plugins that just drains your RAM like crazy. And typically speaking, on these desktops, I have 32 gigabytes of RAM because RAM is cheap. It's one of the cheapest things you can buy. You can just buy chips, stick them in, bam, you're good. But the problem here with these new Macs is that the chips are extremely expensive. The RAM, the memory is now no longer modular. It's embedded in the system and you can no longer upgrade after you purchase. So this is why at the point of purchasing, you have to decide whether you want 8 gigabytes or 16 gigabytes of memory. Now, 16 gigabytes will cost me an extra $200. Like what? Like usually these things would cost like 50, right? But Apple, they need to price it up. But on top of that, even if I wanted more, I can't buy more, right? Like I need, maybe I want to open a Final Cut window with 3 more Chrome windows and film at the same time with OBS. That is definitely not enough RAM. So I don't know. It's a situation where I feel like Apple showed us the videos of it running very well, but you probably only can keep 1 or 2 applications open before, I don't know, you probably have to just close it. So anyways, that's my final thought. That's something to be very, very careful of just basically how expensive these upgrades can get and also the limitations to how much you can upgrade onto these units. Anyways, if you have any other thoughts or opinions or want to have a conversation about this, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.